What's going on, guys? It's Beating the Bookie, and I am back with this year's 2024 college football preview. Today we have the Colorado Buffaloes, whose win total is set at 5.5 wins this year. Over under 5.5 wins, coming off of a 4-8 2023 campaign, where they gave up the most sacks in the Power Five at 56 sacks a game. Their offensive line was the worst in Power Five, and we will see if that has been upgraded this year. They're led by Coach Prime, one of the most polarizing figures in college football, and his son, Shedeur Sanders, who is projected to be a first round pick by many. This team, as we know, they're ranked 16th in EA Sports College Football 2025 poll for their new video game. Their offensive line is going to struggle this year. They did add five-star offensive lineman Jordan Seaton, but as a true freshman at 285 pounds, though he is big, it will still be a learning experience. Coming from IMG Academy to college football, you still will have a bit of a learning curve. And it will be hard to go from the worst offensive line in college football to one of the top ones, no doubt. They obviously do bring back Shedeur Sanders, who does take a lot of sacks because some people say he does not want to affect his completion percentage. They did lose Dylan Edwards. They did lose Hankerson at wide receiver and running back. They obviously do return Travis Hunter, who plays both sides of the ball and who was their second best receiver last year. They also kept Jimmy Horn Jr., and they added Dallas Hayden at running back from Ohio State. And they also added a star receiver from Vanderbilt. Offensively, this team has good players at the skill positions, right? Like looking in from the outside, Colorado offensively, they should be pretty good, right? They started a lot last year pretty good, and they should be fine this year. The problem that arises with Colorado is can their offensive line improve so quick? Now, they did add through the transfer portal, but offensive line in college football is all about your depth. And when you're constantly replacing 50 players a year through the transfer portal, it's very hard to have a lot of depth. These guys have not played together much, so I think they'll do all right offensively, but they do have those problems deep down. And I still think they'll give up a lot of sacks this year because, as we saw last year, Shedeur, he does not like to throw the ball away. He'll take the sack over throwing an incompletion. So offensively, I think they'll be fine, but I just do not think they're a top 20 offense, top 30 offense in America just because of those depth issues. Now, on defense, this was one of the top 5 worst defenses in the country last year. They did add transfers from LSU, Pitt, and Arizona State. They do have Travis Hunter at DB, of course. And I think if you look at their defense with their transfers, they added a defensive end from Houston. If you just look at them on paper, their starters look decent. They look improved, but like on the offense, the problem here is going to be their depth, right? They look like a cake on the outside. They look decent, but on the inside, there's really not much there. So they're going to have depth problems this year. The skill positions are great. Dion, he's going to recruit great guys, get good guys in the transfer portal for the skill positions. But those deep down rugged positions, I'm just not sure the depth is there. Now, when you look at their schedule, they have a tough game. Game one, North Dakota State, the Bison, who are always very tough. FCS national champions seemingly every other year. So they're an 8-point favorite in that game. And I think that'll be a tough one. Anybody expecting the Bison to just roll over and die, that's not going to happen. The Bison are a very tough team. They're very rugged, and they run it down your throat. They love to run up the middle. Their offensive line is better than Colorado's, and they are very tough in the trenches. So that'll be a tough game for Colorado. But Colorado should win. Not sure they cover, but they should win. Game 2 at Nebraska. Nebraska should be much improved with Matt Rhule. I expect Nebraska to win that game. Colorado State, Colorado should win that game, although it is a rivalry game. It's always close. Baylor should be also improved as well. Then they go to at UCF. That'll be a tough game. Then they play Kansas State. Kansas State's always a dog, right? Kansas State's going to give you a tough time. It's going to be a tough game. Arizona, very, very good last year. One of the most underrated teams in the country. I do give them a win against Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati will be bad this year, so they should win that game. At Texas Tech, Texas Tech's going to be improved this year, so that's probably a loss. Utah, most likely a loss because Utah, they're going to be back again this year. Always a tough team, one of the best coaches in college football. Then you go at Kansas. Kansas, obviously, much better, getting better every year. That'll be a tough game for Colorado. And then they finish with Oklahoma State, who's got one of the best running backs in the country, and Mike Gundy. Oklahoma State's always, right up there in the top 20 for the country. So Colorado, I don't think they have the super teams that they played against last year on this year's schedule. I think overall their schedule's a little tougher, but I do think Colorado has improved a little bit. Their win total is 5.5. Last year I predicted them to go 3-9. They won 4, so we lost that. But this year, due to depth issues, I think I'm predicting anywhere from 5 wins to 7 wins for this Colorado team. I think their basement is probably 3 or 4 wins. I think the max they could win is maybe 7. If I had to predict right now, I'd say Colorado goes 5-7 this year. An improvement over last year, but overall, really not much difference because of the depth. What do you guys think about Colorado? You think they can make a bowl game this year, or do you think they finish with a losing record? Let's hear.